Ladies and gentlemen, good evening. It is my hope and prayer that this video is actually going to find you guys in good health. Personally, I'm fine. Kisumu is also fantastic. Maybe you could let me know where you are watching the video from. And today we've had a very busy day, real hectic day for me. And I was actually able to come back to the house around a few minutes to 5, just to try and catch up with whatever was happening in Nairobi. In this video, I want us to do a critical analysis of today's rally. Before we do that, in case you're watching it for the first time, this channel, please just click that subscribe button now. And for those who are already subscribed, the best thing you can do is to drop your comment and also share the videos. Now, because of time, I want to be a bit brief. I want us to do an analysis of today's event. Later on, if I get time, maybe what next? Now, let us start with what I observed from early morning. It was clear that William Ruto and his government were actually determined to block Raila Odinga and his team from accessing CBD. That was their main determination. The only challenge they had was that these guys, some of them were actually walking on foot, so they found themselves in town. And that can also explain why Raila Odinga and his brigades were not very clear on their meeting point. Of course, by yesterday evening, he had indicated that they'll be converging at KICC. But William Ruto and his team were actually determined. And by the time Raila Odinga left Serena, for example, they had managed to actually kick out people from CBD. And for you to understand their determination, those who were at KICC, leaders like Madzayo, the senator for Kilifi, who is also the minority leader at the Senate, Wandai, all those guys were arrested because these guys thought that Raila Odinga was inside there. But did that really stop Raila Odinga and his team from achieving their objectives? I'm coming to that shortly. But again, during all these things, a few guys I consider emerged as heroes. Now, these are the members of parliament who are there at KICC, who braved police tear gas. You could see the likes of Sifuna moving around challenging the police. You could see Babu Wino there walking majestically as the police threw tear gas. You could see people like the speaker of the county assembly of Kilifi, Teddy Mwambire, right there. You could see the women rep for Migori, Fatuma, Full Network, who was not even elected on ODM, braving tear gas. You could see several others, people like Salasia. Now, those are the people personally I consider among the leaders to be the heroes, because one of the questions, and I remember one of my friends who is an MCA here in Kisumu, the majority whip, Seth Adwinyang, was asking me, because he was in Nairobi, thought I was also in Nairobi. So he was asking me, Lee, where are these people we normally see putting on the red berets, the members of parliament? They were nowhere to be seen. But these MPs, the likes of Olekina, Babu Wino, they were there, and you could feel their impact.
Senator, are there leaders who have been arrested?
Yeah, they have arrested.
How many leaders?
Tumemaliza kazi, sisi tunaenda nyumbani. Sasa Beatrice,
Senator wa Kilifi.
Kilifi senator?
Yeah, Kilifi senator has been arrested. Madzayo. Yeah, na alikuwa arrested ikiwa ndani ya KICC. Sasa unashangaa kwani wakienda kwa ofisi yao ni shida. Why are you being arrested because of what? And the senators wako kazi.
You are looking the wrong side.
So, look here. Sisi tunashangaa.
Wakili mnaenda? Where are you heading, wakili?
We are just walking.
Sasa sisi tumesikia watu wetu wamezuiliwa kila mahali. Sasa tumetoka KICC tunaenda kuwakomboa, turudi nao. Na hatuondoki. Tunaenda kuchukua watu wetu kurudi nao.
Any plans about Raila Odinga's whereabouts?
We will let you know.
Atakuja.
Assignment for
There was a group of MCs from Nairobi. These MCs from Nairobi were the ones who were able to actually help Raila Odinga get out of Serena, because the government was also keen on stopping Raila Odinga from getting out of Serena. But the biggest hero for today were those brave men and women who decided to get out of their comfort zone, to go straight to the streets peacefully. I'm not talking of the goons who went and destroyed properties, who went peacefully and demonstrated. This is a typical case of a lady who was in Homa Bay, who went to the, I think, county commissioner with a sufuria and mwiko. You know, those are the people who I call heroes. So that is the first thing which I noted. Now, let us go to the second issue, I think, which is now the third issue, because I've talked of the determination to lock CBD. Then the second one is the heroes. Now, let us look at the objective. Did Raila Odinga achieve his objectives with this mandamano? If you ask me that question, I can simply return another question. Was today a holiday? Yes, today was a holiday. The mere fact that Rigathi Gachagua, William Ruto, and the entire Kenya Kwanza government told Kenyans to ignore Raila Odinga and proceed with their normal activities, then Raila Odinga asked his supporters to go to the street, and they went to the streets, means that today was a public holiday. Government activities across the country were actually paralyzed. Rigathi Gachagua himself, while in Mombasa, alleged that the country actually lost 2 billion. But something which should also interest you is that this is just the beginning. They are saying it will now be every single week. So for me, it achieved that objective. The second thing you should be looking at under this objective is media attention. I mean, if you open your TV today, you open Citizen TV, you go to KTN, you go to Nini, you go to Facebook, you go to YouTube, everything was about the shutdown in the country. So which means Raila Odinga managed to get whatever he wanted. In fact, the international media were also present to cover the whole thing live. I remember BBC at some point were even questioning whether the police were out to protect properties or they were just focused on dispersing the Azimio supporters. Because remember, international media is what Raila Odinga needed. He needed the local media. And if you go today to Facebook pages of most of Raila Odinga supporters, those who are really dissatisfied with him after the handshake, they will, their posts are like, this is not the Raila we wanted. So Raila Odinga is actually winning more support based on the fact that he was able to push through this. The other thing which is important is the turnout. Whoa. I've never seen people turn out the way they did today. You know, William Ruto was very quiet and planned and plotted. William Ruto wanted to do two things. The first thing he wanted to do was to have Azimio supporters blocked from CBD. And once that's achieved, he also wanted to block Raila Odinga and his team from having any meeting with the people. So at some point, that's why this thing delayed. That's why Raila Odinga delayed coming out. At some point, Kenya Kwanza even started celebrating that they defeated Raila Odinga, that they could not manage to do anything. And indeed, Raila Odinga supporters by that time had been subdued. I think it was by 3, around 4 there. Then Raila Odinga decided, okay, these guys have blocked my people from CBD, so I'll not be able to go to KICC to meet them. Because remember, they were told to come to KICC. So the government blocked them from there. So Raila Odinga had planned to meet them there. Again, they could not meet. So when Raila Odinga left Serena, funnily, he just took the route to Eastleigh. And the crowd started building up. By the time Raila Odinga arrived at Eastleigh, State House was actually in shock. The whole country was in shock. Every Kenyan across, from on top of their buildings, in matatus, everywhere were happy. They were celebrating. In fact, at some point, the police were trying to make sure that Raila Odinga does not address, because at some point where people were many, these guys would block him and would be forced to address them. So in most cases, what the police would do, they'll block these people. I mean, they'll tear gas these people to disperse before the Raila Odinga's convoy arrive. So for me, that turnout, the determination, is what caught my attention. And I think if someone was writing Raila Odinga off, they need to go back to the drawing board. And the other thing which I think I also consider to be an objective which they achieved is the peaceful nature of the Mandamano. William Ruto and his Kenya Kwanza government tried all possible strategies to portray these Mandamanos as violent. If you noted, the police really arrested several people. But none of those people arrested were arrested with a weapon. None of them. So which means Azimio supporters were just there, peaceful. My worry is that based on what happened today, again, you can't guarantee that it will be peaceful next protest because of the way the police handled these people. The other important thing, which I think is also a big achievement for Raila and the team, is the fact that the entire Azimio brigades were present. When Raila Odinga was being sworn in, the other principals took off. Today, you could see Martha Karua, you could see Kalonzo, you could see Eugene Wamalwa, you could see Jeremiah Kioni. So which means the entire Azimio leadership were present. But something was amiss. Members of parliament, most of them from Azimio, were not present. They boycotted this event. I'm going to ask myself why. Probably you'll help me. But also there were certain drawbacks which I observed. The first one was the excessive use of force by police. We need to be a country where the police can actually try to restrain themselves. Sometimes they might be forced to use force, but in some instances, really not necessary. There are so many instances in Nairobi where the police really didn't need to use force, but they used force on innocent people, because again, picketing is a constitutional right. You can't ban anybody from picketing, but when you use excessive force on them, then again, you are breaking that particular law. The other thing which really was a drawback for me is the destruction of properties, which I observed took place in Kisumu. There is a pit stop, which unfortunately, most people thought belonged to Jalango, and Jalango Felix, the Langata MP. So because of that association, or that thought, they went and looted pit stop. For me, that's unfortunate. Why? Because pit stop, where it stands, it employs the residents of Kisumu. It provides opportunity. Whenever you go to have lunch or drink there, there's a car wash opposite there. You support the economy. There are so many people who are employed there. So it's unfortunate. And again, even if it belonged to Felix Oduro Jalango, whether he's in Kenya Kwanza, properties cannot be targeted based on political affiliation for me. So that's something which the people of Kisumu should avoid. One thing I give to you guys is that you tried so hard to avoid burning roads. I observed that whenever you guys were burning those tires, they were not on tarmac, either those roundabout spaces and the rest. But destruction to properties is a very bad thing. A house hosting UDA offices was destroyed. You know, guys just invaded the house, the office, UDA new office in Milimani, and because of that, the police had to respond by throwing tear gas, you know, and the tear gas, as you know, got into the one of the vehicles fire. So it's unfortunate. I don't know why that would be a big problem. There's also another building in Nairobi where people threw stones. So for me, those are some of the drawbacks. But for me, if you ask me, the whole thing was a huge success. Until next time, this is Makwiny.